Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I've just filmed a really short quick tutorial for the Mumsnet YouTube channel and I'll link that below. It's all about how to hide your tired eyes. So I thought, why not do a really quick video for you guys, my top 5 concealers for Indian, brown, olive toned skins, because I think it's really hard to find the right concealer, just as it's really hard to find the right foundation for darker skin tones. I think the concealer issue is just as difficult a one. So I'm going to run through my top 5 concealers. All the concealers I'm going to talk about I've either already repurchased or I definitely would repurchase. And you might think, why do I need more than one concealer? Sometimes I use the concealer literally just to even out the skin tone, and other times I use them to brighten under the eyes. Other times I'll use concealers to literally highlight as well. So they're all slightly different and I love them all. And I'm going to start off with one that I have definitely repurchased and I've written about it too, and it's the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. I absolutely love this concealer. It goes on super smooth and super creamy, as the name would suggest. It's got a little doe foot applicator and you literally just swipe it on under the eyes, and then I will either blend it out with my fingers or with a brush or with a beauty blender. I will use any of those 3 things depending on the look that I'm trying to achieve. If it's just a really quick kind of get out the house quickly kind of thing, I'll use my fingers. If I'm going for something a little bit more airbrushed, I'll use the beauty blender or a brush or a combination of all 3. I use this in the shade Caramel, and I have used this in Biscuit too, but I think that Caramel probably suits me better. Next up is another favourite, and it's the MAC Pro Long Wear Concealer, and I wear this in the shade NW35. This one's slightly different. It has a little pump action situation here, and I literally just put a little bit onto my fingertips, my ring fingers, and dot it on where I need it, and then I will either blend it out with my fingers or a beauty blender or a brush. And this one is super creamy too. It lasts forever. I do tend to set my concealer with powder if I'm out for the whole day. I'm not too heavy-handed with my powder because I don't like a really caked on look, but I will just set it with a very light dusting of powder. This one also, like the Nars, it doesn't settle into my fine lines under my eyes, which I do suffer from. In fact, none of the concealers that I'm going to show you settle into the fine lines, so that's kind of why I love them, because otherwise I feel it just accentuates the problem under the eyes rather than disguising it and hiding it. So that's the MAC Pro Long Wear Concealer in NW35. So those 2 concealers really they disguise the dark circles, and they also kind of slightly highlight under my eyes. They brighten under my eyes. The next one I'm going to show you does do a little bit of kind of brightening under the eyes, but really I use this one when I just want to completely even out the skin tone, especially if I'm going to do some kind of contouring and highlighting underneath the eyes. I just want to take away any shadows. And this is the Conceal Fx, and I wear this in Deep. This is a different kind of packaging. Again, it's a little tube, so I would squeeze out a tiny amount onto my ring fingers. Again, pat the 2 together and just apply it under the eyes. This one does need shaking before you use it, because otherwise the pigment and the liquid part of it tends to separate a bit, and when you squeeze it out you don't really get the kind of intensity of the pigment that you want. So I always give this a little shake before I use this. And this is more liquid than the other 2. The other 2 are a little bit more creamy. So this one, sometimes I have to build up with maybe a couple of layers. It still doesn't look cakey and it still doesn't settle into the fine lines, but it's a perfect cover match when I just want to kind of give my face that, when I just want to give my face that really kind of blank canvas. One of the concealers that I absolutely love to highlight under the eyes is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Concealer, again in a tube, so you have to squeeze it out. This one is so thick that there's no separation at all. In fact, I'll take a little bit out onto my fingertips, and then before I apply it to my eyes, I really have to warm it up by rubbing my 2 fingertips together to really warm up the product before I apply it under the eyes. It's slightly lighter than the other 3, and it's slightly yellower too as well, so it really brightens and lifts the eyes. So I do use this when I really want to lift the area under my eyes. And I have been known to mix up a couple of concealers. Obviously I'll take less of each of the concealers so as to not to cake on too much concealer under my eyes, but I do quite often mix these two, or I mix these two. This is the Conceal Fx and the Tarte, and I will mix it with the last concealer that I'm going to show you too. I really love this, and this was my first tube, and I definitely will be repurchasing this. It's also a really good shade for when I want to use a bit of concealer to just highlight some areas of my face, you know, kind of down the center of the nose, a little bit of the forehead, maybe on my cheekbones as well. So this is a really good multitasker. Make sure to warm it up on your fingers before you apply it to your skin, and then it will work beautifully. The last concealer I want to show you is the latest one to join my stash. This is the Laura Mercier Secret Concealer. I think it's the anti-wrinkle formulation. And this one is the most solid of the concealers that I have. I have used so many others with this kind of formulation. I've got a MAC one, the Bobbi Brown concealer I used to use for the longest time, but this one has really kind of replaced my Bobbi Brown one because I just love the effects of this one so much. Ooh, what else? OCC as well. I've got a solid one of theirs, and I've got a solid one from Inglot, but really this is, if I'm going to use a solid formulation concealer, this is the one I've been using. Hardly need any. I've had this for ages and I use this almost every day, and it's kind of hardly made a dent into it. On the skin, there is a slight salmony undertone to it, which does all the work that I would use a corrector for without having to use a separate corrector under my concealer. So it's almost like two products in one for me. And I can apply this with my fingers, I can apply it with the brush, and I will use my mini beauty blender as well with this, with all of them. But I absolutely love this. This is the one I'm really turning to kind of on a daily basis at the moment, and I won't travel without it, otherwise I'll be buying it at duty free and I don't want to do that. It looks solid, but actually it is super creamy, and it blends beautifully. It blends away so you can't even see the edges of where you've used it. It's not really a shade that I would use to kind of highlight other areas of my face, but that's fine. This does the work under the eyes so beautifully that I'm very happy for it to just be working on one area of my face. All the concealers that I've shown you just now are all favorites, but really that one probably is the one that I'm turning to on a daily basis right now. So that was a really quick run through of my 5 top concealers for Indian, Asian, brown, olive skin tones. You might find that you need to kind of go up a shade, down a shade. I'll put my MAC shade references down below, and I'll list the shades that I'm using as well. So, you know, just in case you want to try out any, do leave me your recommendations for concealers that you think are brilliant and that I should be trying as well. I did do a video on my top 10 foundations a while ago, actually. I probably need to update that. So it was my top 10 foundations for Indian skin tones, darker, brown, kind of Asian, olive skin tones. I'll link it for you below if you want to go and have a look at that. And a lot of you guys did write me your recommendations for the foundations that you thought that I should try, which I did actually, and a couple of those became my favorites too, so definitely leave me your recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. I love your comments, so please do leave me your comments below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Do check me out on Instagram, because I'm on Instagram. Oh, I'm on Periscope, and I'm on Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter and all of those things. So I will leave all the information in the information box down below. Make sure to check those out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!